Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm reviewing the animated film Superman vs. the Elite. This film came out a couple of months ago, but I only just now got the chance to see it, and I'm super glad I did. It's a really good movie, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. But before we get into that, let's talk about the story that this movie is all based on. And it's based on a story called What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which ran in the Superman comics, I believe it was in the late 1990s. Now, I happened to actually read that comic. I spotted it at the store, and there was just something about it that really told me, pick up this comic, this was going to be a good one. And that was a little unusual for me, because at the time, I didn't really pick up Superman regularly, but I just had a good feeling about that book. And I turned out to be right. It really was one of the best Superman stories I'd ever read. And in the years since the comic came out, it has widely been regarded as one of the best Superman stories ever told. And the story is basically about asking the question, is Superman still relevant in our modern world? Are the values and the ideas that he advocates are they still worthwhile? Are they still something that we should put our faith in? Or is Superman just kind of an old-fashioned fuddy-duddy and who just sort of needs to get off the stage? And that's the question that the story in the comics asks, and it provides an answer to in its own way. And it's also what this film does. Now, before I get into this too much further, I'm going to spoil some stuff here for you folks. So if you don't want the big important twists of this story, then now's your turn to back out. Now, this movie was written by the fellow who also wrote the original story in the comics, a guy by the name of Joe Kelly. He's a veteran comic book writer. He's got stuff from like X-Men, Deadpool, basically one of the guys who really reinvented Deadpool for the modern times. Had a great run on that book that I absolutely adore. He's also, of course, done a lot of Superman, and he's an experienced animation writer. He's one of the co-creators of Ben 10, and I believe the other show that those Man of Action guys did was Generator Rex. Or it might have been Symbiotic Titan. I honestly don't remember which one that is. But anyway, he's a man with a lot of experience in comics, a lot of experience in animation. And before this film came out, I saw an interview with him where he was talking about the original story and, of course, the animated film. And he basically says that he had been reading some other comics that were out at the time, and it's never been made a secret. I mean, it was even obvious at the time, and Joe Kelly has confirmed this over the years, that the Elite are basically a riff on the characters called the Authority. And the Authority, which I'm also a fan of, when they first came out, really did seem to be something new in terms of superheroes. They were superheroes who really went out there, and not only would they kill the bad guys, but they were really willing to kick over the card table and take a very heavy-handed approach to the world, to dealing with the world's problems. And I think in one of the first issues they even said something along the lines of, now that we're around, every day is a bad day to be a bastard. And a lot of people enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed The Authority, especially when they were being written by their creator, Warren Ellis. But Warren left that series after about 12 issues, and it was taken over by other writers. And honestly, after that, the Authority just really seemed to become about shock value of destroying of major cities around the world, and really just taking what seemed like a very mean-spirited jabs at established superheroes. And Joe Kelly I felt that way, and according to the interview, that so did Joe Kelly. He even said in the interview that I saw that he felt like the people that were writing those comics were saying to him, if you ever believed in any of this stuff, the truth, justice, and the American way, yada, 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 that any of those old school superheroes espoused, then you're a fool. You're a fool if you ever believe that, if you ever put any stock in it. And not surprisingly, this kind of made Joe mad, so he wrote What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way as his response to that. Now, I find it kind of funny, but fitting, that the whole Truth, Justice, and the American Way is in there. Now, I'm not a comics historian, but I am a fan, and to be perfectly honest, folks, as I understand it, Superman basically kind of dropped the whole "and the American way." And this is not just Superman, this is DC Comics, the company that publishes Superman as a whole, basically dropped that from part of Superman's shtick back in like the 1980s. I mean, seriously, it's been referenced from time to time, but Superman has not consciously advocated that as part of his philosophy, as his beliefs, since the Reagan administration, basically. And frankly, I've always considered that to be a good move. Well, it certainly does sound very nice, I mean, especially to me, as I am American. And it's certainly, if you, like, for example, watch the opening to the old 50s Superman TV show, it's oddly inspiring in its own very old-fashioned and kitschy way. But in modern times, that sort of thing just seems, frankly, just very nationalistic. And Superman is many things, especially in the modern age, but I've never really considered him a nationalist. Superman is a guy who goes out there and does the right, not in association with any sort of political party or with any government. He does goes out there and does good for everyone. He's a citizen of the world. And really, that's very fitting for a man who came to our world from another planet. But anyway, the whole crux here is with Superman versus the Elite, is that the Elite are Manchester Black, the Hat, Cold Cast, and Menagerie are new superheroes on the scene. And while in the comics they were extremely brutal characters right from the start, here in this movie they're portrayed more as rookie superheroes who literally are in awe of Superman. They are literally tongue-tied when they try to talk to him for the first time. And Superman sees this. He takes them under his wing. He starts teaching. He wants to teach them to be really good heroes. And the Elite are okay with this. When they find themselves faced with a crisis where they do not know what to do, Superman steps in and provides them with the guidance and leadership that they need in order to save the day. He pushes them to do things that they really might not have thought that they were capable of doing. Superman, under his guidance, Superman is able to make the Elite better heroes. But as time goes by, the Elite start to diverge from what Superman is saying. They want to take the easy route. And it's very easy to see why they feel this way. And as they do point out, the world is full of bad people who do terrible things. And if all the superheroes do is just grab these guys and throw them in jail, these guys are just going to break out again and go out and hurt and kill more people. So shouldn't the superheroes do something about this? Shouldn't they put an end to this sort of thing once and for all? And that's a reasonable question to ask. And Superman makes it very clear from the start, no, we can't do that. We are not above the law. We do not have the right to decide that other people do not have the right to live. And this ultimately spirals so out of control that the Elite decide that Superman should die. And it culminates, and this is after the world has basically taken the Elite side. They have said that Superman is wrong, Superman is irrelevant, that he is not the hero that they want. And I love that the little note that Superman says leaves for Lois Lane when he's about to face off against the Elite, knowing very well that they honestly might have the power to kill him. And the note says simply, believe. Always believe. Now, the fight between Superman and the Elite is absolutely awesome. It is one of the best fights I have ever seen in superhero animation. And I'm not saying that this is, in terms of the technical aspects, that this is mind-blowing, landmark stuff like we've never seen before. No, just the storytelling of it all. And the acting is just phenomenal. And if you're not familiar with this, basically, it looks like the Elite have defeated Superman, it looks like they have even killed him. But suddenly Superman is gone, and the Elite, he basically gives this really ominous voice. They can hear him around them, and he's basically saying, you know what, you're right. You finally convinced me that your way of doing things, that killing, is the right path. And then one by one, it seems that Superman has gone and killed the Elite until only their leader, Manchester Black, the one who Superman has most been working with to try and convince to take the right path, is the only one left. And Black even says to him, you're a hypocrite. All those things you said, you threw them away. You've proven that I was right. You've proven that you're no better than me. And that's when Superman reveals that, no, he didn't kill them. He just killed the other members of the Elite. He just used his powers and the robots from his fortress to make it seem as if he had killed them. And keep in mind, the Elite are using their little super high-tech video spy cameras that they have floating around them that look suspiciously like TIE fighters to broadcast this fight to the entire world. So the entire world has just thought that they have seen Superman flip out and start killing people. I mean, there's even a scene where a woman says, "Is that Superman?" And the man next to her says, "Not anymore." And that is true. If Superman did do those things, if he did go down that path of playing judge, jury, and executioner, he really would no longer be Superman. But anyway, after revealing to Manchester Black that he has not indeed killed his friends, he has simply knocked them out, and that they're going to be taken away and be stripped of their powers, he also uses his heat vision and X-ray vision to basically perform a little super surgery on Manchester Black's brain, which doesn't harm him, but does strip him of his telekinetic powers. And it is with doing that Superman shows what happens when you embrace the ideas that the Elite were advocating. At the very beginning of the final fight, Manchester Black starts making his big speech to the world while his teammates wail on Superman. And he describes these as the new rules for how the world would work. And rule number 1 is, the ones who have the power make the rules. Obviously. That's what he says. So in essence, the world that Manchester Black wants to make is a world where might makes right. Well, folks, I don't think I need to tell you that in a world where might makes right, anyone who is not mighty is getting stepped on. That is not a world that I think anybody wants to live in. And of course, this is all very fitting because earlier, Manchester had said to the people of the world via his TIE fighter cameras, "You asked for us. You got us." Through their actions, the Elite had basically gained the approval of the world. These were the heroes that the people of the world thought that they wanted. And when they see the Elite for what they are, for people who not only kill, but are willing to laugh about killing, it suddenly dawns on them they've really backed the wrong horse. There's this really great brief but very brief scene where Superman flies off to Smallville and has a conversation with Pa Kent, who even says to him, when people are scared, they'll jump on the bandwagon of anybody they think can protect them, that can look after them. But that they'll get off once they get a look at who it is that's really driving. And this is absolutely true, and history has proven this time and time again. Look at people like Mao Zedong, or Joseph McCarthy, or Benito Mussolini, or, let's see, a guy you might have heard of called Adolf Hitler. And there are 100 other people across history that I could name who did the exact same thing. They said to people who were scared, I can lead you. I can make you safe. I can make you strong. I can make you proud. I can make your world better. Just follow me. Put your faith in me. Do as I say. And the thing is, though, when you put your faith in violence, in killing, in vengeance, in people arbitrarily deciding that they have the right to decide who lives and who dies, then you are building a bad, bad world where eventually even you are not going to want to live. Now, I'm a gamer. I've played my fair share of Dungeons and Dragons and all that. And in the Forgotten Realms Dungeons and Dragon game, there's this extremely powerful good guy wizard named Elemenster. And in one of the books I read about that, he has this really nice quote that I'd like to share with you. And this isn't word for word, but I'll give you the gist of it. And he basically says, people ask me why I and my other powerful good guy friends don't just band together and go out and strike down Severance Tam, or whatever the heck is the name of Elemenster's evil undead wizard enemy. And he says, well, yeah, we could do that. We might even win. But if we did that, when the dust cleared, there would be people with so much power, the people left standing would have so much power, and no one would be there who could possibly stop them. And then I say to those people who ask me, why don't we do these things? In a world where there are such people with such power and no one to stop them, where do you think you would rank? And that's exactly true here. As the elite spiral downward into just megalomania, into obsession with their own power, they turn on the man who has been their friend and mentor, who has tried to guide them, tried to be their friend, and has genuinely helped them to be better heroes. And during the fight, they even say, if any of the other superheroes come after us to try and avenge Superman, we'll kill them too. Now think about that. Think about what they're saying there. They're saying, we would kill Batman, we would kill Wonder Woman, we would kill the Flash, we would kill Green Lantern, all the other heroes, if they so much as raise a hand against us for killing Superman. And some people would call characters like this heroes. I'm not opposed to anti-heroes. I mean, heck, one of my all-time favorite superhero characters is the Punisher. But that's the thing about the Punisher. The Punisher is not meant to be someone that we want to emulate. I mean, even Garth Ennis, widely considered to be the greatest Punisher writer ever, said that what the Punisher does is not really defensible. That he is basically just a serial killer who kills criminals. Now, the Punisher is fun to read because he's a vengeance fantasy. The Punisher is there to exact punishment on truly, truly horrible people, and we are there to just go along with the ride, to see punishment doled out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, though, the Punisher is someone that we can enjoy for entertainment. But he is not the sort of person that you would want to put your faith in to build a better world. Now, granted, there are truly horrible people out there, and it's perfectly understandable to think that a bullet to the head is what is the solution. And the thing is about that is, though, it's very easy to start, once you start going down that path, once you start deciding that you have the right, that you are wise enough, that you have the moral authority enough to decide who lives and dies, well, it's very easy to use that power without the restraint that would be needed. The reason that we have the rule of law is to see that justice is the proper mixture of punishment and mercy. That's what, I mean, if you look at a statue of Lady Justice, in one hand she holds a pair of some scales to indicate balance, that justice must always be balanced. She wears the blindfold to show that justice must be blind, to show that justice must not show favoritism. And she holds the sword as a symbol of punishment. Again, true justice is blind. It shows no favoritism. True justice is balanced between mercy and punishment. But if all you put your faith in is punishment, in power, in strength, and in violence, then really, how can you possibly say that you have any real moral authority? Now, if you want to hold up, any number of infinitely horrible people and say this person deserves to die, well, maybe they do. But again, what happens when someone with power, with strength and authority decides that it's your turn to die? What happens when someone with power and strength and authority makes a mistake? And what happens when someone with power and strength and authority isn't blind? When they let their own prejudices direct that power? Well, if you're the one standing in the way of that, suddenly you're going to probably realize that putting your faith in that sort of thing was the wrong move. And Superman, during all of this, is constantly saying we have to put our faith in the rule of law. Now, folks, I don't need to tell you the rule of law is not perfect. But if it's that, or people deciding who lives and who dies simply because they have the power to deal out death, well, I'm sorry, I don't really think I think that's pretty much a no-brainer. And to kind of continue along with that, let me ask you this. Do you really feel that you could dole out punishment and death to other people and never make a mistake? Never punish excessively? Never let your own viewpoint of the world color the way you handle these situations? I don't have that level of faith in myself. I am not a perfect person. Sometimes I let my emotions get the better of me. Sometimes I let the way I view the world color my opinion on things that in ways that are not always fair. And I like to think that when I do these things, that I realize my mistakes, that I can overcome these things. But I'm as human as everyone else. I make mistakes. And if you make mistakes when it comes to deciding who lives and who dies, well, you can't undead someone. Let me see here. Okay, I know I was just dealing out some very, very heavy stuff there, so I need a second to come down from all of that. And actually, I have the perfect solution. While I was thinking about what I was going to say, and about during this commentary and review, I wanted to quote and this is quote some lines from Superman that I think really sum up about this. One of them is actually more or less slightly, the wording is slightly different, but it's used in this movie. So let me call that up and read it to you. Here we go. This is from where Manchester Black basically says to Superman, all those things that you believe in, truth, justice, the American way, blah blah blah, people are good, rule of law, it's an illusion, it's a dream. And Superman says to him, I wouldn't have it any other way. Dreams save us. Dreams lift us up and transform us. And on my soul I swear, until my dream of a world where dignity, honor, and justice become the reality we all share, I'll never stop fighting. Ever. And there's another one. This is from the Justice League comics. Now, I read this years ago. This is written by Grant Morrison, very, very talented Scottish writer. He's written some absolutely beautiful Superman stuff. And it doesn't contain the whole quote, but I've read that story enough times that I remember it really well. And it starts off with a Wonder Woman making a comment about the condition of superheroes, and she says, how do we know if we're doing too much or too little? When does intervention become domination? And Superman responds to her, I can only tell you what I believe, Diana. Humankind has to be allowed to climb to its own destiny. We can't carry them there. Now the Flash then chimes in, but that's what she's saying. What's the point? Why should they need us at all? To which Superman answers, to catch them if they fall. And I have never found anywhere else a better justification for superheroes doing what it is they do. Now, let's briefly talk about the non-story aspects of this movie. First of all, I loved, this movie has some really nice music. It's very subtle, but when it's needed, it really amps up the drama, really adds to the action, and I really enjoyed it. Also, I really enjoyed the opening title sequence, which contained little bits of clips in this great collage of various Superman animation and shots from the comics from over the years. I mean, if you're paying attention, you can spot things like references to, clips literally taken from old episodes of the Super Friends. And this is a very creative and very telling way of showing that, yes, even in the old days when Superman could be very cheesy and very kitschy, the moral message that he stood behind was still a valid one. Even in the days when they were serious about that and the American way thing. Superman's belief that in things like the rule of law and that killing was wrong are still ideas that are of incredible value. I mean, just look at the world we live in. Can you honestly tell me that in the world we live in right now, that as flawed as it is, the rule of law is better than the rule of people just grabbing guns and going out there and shooting and killing whoever they think is a bad guy? Are you going to really tell me that in the world we live in, that not killing people, that the world needs more killing? That the world needs more death? I don't believe that. And I really don't think very many people, if they seriously sat down and thought about it, would say, yes, more violence, more killing, more death is what this world needs. Now, in terms of the voice actors, of course, we have George Newbern reprising his role as Superman from the very wonderful Superman the Animated Series from the 90s. The fellow who played Jimmy Olsen on that show, he also comes back. We have, I didn't think to write his name down, but probably possibly exploiting Joe Kelly's connection to the show Ben 10. The fellow who does the voice of Uncle Max on that is the voice of Pa Kent. We also have veteran voice actors like Jennifer Hale, Gray Delisle, I think is how you'd say her name, and Nolan North, taking on minor roles. Tara Strong's in this too, taking on minor roles in the series. We have Pauline Peretti, I believe is how her name is said, best known as Abby on NCIS, stepping in to do a very nice job as Lois Lane. The person who I'm actually really most excited about to see in this was Robin Downs. Now, some of the younger folks out there who are watching this probably would know him best as the voice of Travis Touchdown from the video game No More Heroes. I personally will always consider him to be Byron from Babylon 5. Great show, really nice character there, and he's there to do the voice of Manchester Black. And honestly, he really steals the show. Manchester Black just really does steal this movie. He's a really good character. Didn't always have the best writing after his initial debut in the comics, but here he's just gold. He is, even as a bad guy, just so entertaining to watch. And honestly, it's hard not to feel a little sympathetic towards him. And Manchester Black, as a credit to his character, does genuinely raise some good, valid points about what's going on in the world, about the way Superman operates. He even says about superheroes, people don't want a babysitter who's going to spank them when they've been bad and then just let them go right back to it. They want surgeons who are going to remove the cancers in this world and make sure that they never come back. And you know what? That's a really good point. That is really what it is we want in life. But it's not, life isn't that simple. When cancers are living people, just cutting them out isn't so easy. The taking of another person's life, even a person who is unquestionably, by almost any standard, a bad person, is not something that we should do lightly, is not something that we should do casually. Because, again, what happens when someone with that power to take the lives of others decides that you're the one that has to go? What if they decide it's someone you care about? Or what if they're wrong and that the person that they think no longer deserves to live is innocent of whatever crime it is they think they've committed? Human beings are imperfect creatures. We always have been, and we always will be. And we're always going to make mistakes in this. But if we make a mistake in ending another person's life, that's not a mistake that we can take back. And that's why it's something that only should be done under the most dire of circumstances, under the most extraordinary of circumstances. And there's a lot more that I could say about that. And this is an argument that's been going on really as long as anything that even resembles civilization has been around. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm wise enough to offer some permanent, final, be-all, end-all answer to the question of when is it all right to take another person's life. I can only say that if those circumstances do arise, we should only proceed with doing so under the most careful and extraordinary deliberation. Now, granted, that is not always a luxury we are going to have in life. If somebody is running at you with a knife and you have a gun in your hand, you aren't going to have the time to really sit down and have a little chat with them about why they're going to do this. You are going to have to defend yourself. You are going to have just heartbeats to make that decision. But, and under those circumstances, I think it would be a pretty easy decision for most of us as to what to do. The only real problem thereafter is if you start taking pleasure in that sort of thing. If you start thinking that I have killed this person who was trying to kill me, and I was right to do so. If that is the case, then do I not have the right to decide when other people who are doing wrong should die? It's a really slippery slope, folks, and a dark, dark path to walk. And that's why it is, as Superman says, we need to have those dreams about dignity and justice and truth. And that is not just the American way. That's not the way of any nation or religion, or creed or people, or whatever you want to call it. That, a world of dignity and truth and justice, that is the way of human beings. That is the world that we have always tried to build. Now, granted, we've made some terrible mistakes over the centuries. We've gone down the wrong road so many times. But it's like the old saying goes, humanity constantly struggles towards the light. And though we may fall, more often than not, we make great strides. Well, folks, I think that's all I really have for this review. In my notes, I've got a few little comments I made about little inconsistencies and whatnot that I spotted while watching this movie. But honestly, in the light of what this film is really about, nitpicking the little details just seems silly at this point. So, with that said, I'd like to leave you with this. Superman vs. the Elite is a very good movie. It's a great superhero, adventure, action movie, but it's also a movie that raises some very legitimate philosophical points, not just about Superman, not just about superheroes, but about the world in which we live. And that is something that superhero stories, the truly good ones, the truly great ones, have always done. So, I urge you to watch this movie, not only because it's a good movie, but because it's a movie that I feel will make you think about the ideas and the questions and the themes that it raises. Now, whatever conclusions you may come to based on that, that's on you. And I'm not going to judge you for whatever conclusions that you may come to. All I ask is that you give these questions serious thought and think about what these questions mean in the world in which we live, and what do the answers that you come up with mean in terms of building a better world. With that said, as always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Of course, you can always follow me on Twitter at HoosierJedi. And until next time, folks, take care and have a good one.